deserving of this, the program is deserving of this crowd. You are in for a treat. The presenters have put in countless hours putting this together. There will be audio-visual. Houston Canoe Club has a very colorful history. I'm glad we have so many guests and new members so that they can see what the Canoe Rendezvous was. So our presenters tonight are Ann Derby, who I think Ann has coordinated and really masterminded the whole thing, but John and Cindy Bartos, who is all about, who did I, and Fraser did a whole lot on this. So without further ado, you're in for a treat, and I would like to warmly welcome Ann and the rest of the presenters.
Wow, that pressure. Okay, I'm just going to do a short introduction. I may just have to read it. For 12 years, from 1989 to 2001, the Houston Canoe Club Southwestern Canoe Rendezvous gave Texas paddlers an annual opportunity to experience the range of boating options available and to be immersed in the paddling lifestyle. It was embraced by the paddling community of North America, including Canada, Mexico, manufacturers, dealers, instructors, some publications, and the American Canoe Association. Why was it successful? Few such on-water events for paddlers exist, none on the scale of the Rendezvous. I don't think before or since. Here in this part of the country, we can paddle year-round, but of course up north the water gets hard in there. So, this made the Rendezvous a nice stop for the manufacturers that toured the country all summer, and then at the end of the demoing their boats and showing their boats at different things. And then this was like the last stop, so they had some good deals on boats. So that was good for us. But the main thing, it was like a true gathering of the tribes for lovers of boating and wilderness experiences. And in the pre-Facebook era, friendships grew with annual personal contact because we got to see these same people. We only saw them once a year, but they became friends. And the main thing about it, it was a labor of love and long, hard work from volunteers, amazingly, for what almost was an industry show. Some for a whole year and many hours a week, some for a few weeks, many just at the events. So we have a lot to cover. The first up is John Bartos, who was Commodore when Bob Arthur first proposed the club undertake this crazy idea.
Well, you know, you were talking about Christy doing a nominations committee, and it just reminded me that I think it might have been John Ort. I'm going to blame John anyway, even if it wasn't, that he convinced me to be Commodore in 1989. And I went to the first officers meeting, which we used to have at the Coors distributor. And at the first meeting, this idea came up from Bob Arthur. He had been to a canoe show in Arkansas, I believe, called Conclave, and he thought that we should put one on. And I said, what? What is it? This isn't anything I signed on for. Well, the officers agreed, the club agreed, and sure enough, we put on this crazy event. We had... there's Bob.
Smoking his pipe.
Anyway, we spent the spring doing a lot of things, finding a venue. We went and checked a whole bunch of places. I know Mary was involved. We searched all over the place. We found a good venue in Chatham Lakes, which is kind of off the Trinity River up near Romare. We got various people involved, like the various manufacturers, various Canoe Sport Journal was one of the big paddling publications at that time, and they helped us out a little bit. But we actually entered into a contractual arrangement with Charlie Wilson, who had put on that conclave, and so that helped a little bit. And frankly, there's Charlie, and Bob, frankly, just burned up the phone lines talking to people. And we were a little club. We did not have a big bunch of money like we have now. we basically decided to risk everything we had. I think it was about $1,500, and we were scared to death. We were going to do all this work and enter into all these obligations, and we weren't sure if anyone was going to show. And I remember very, very distinctly several events. One, the first exhibitor, McCann Paddle, sent in a check, and they, well, this thing's going to happen, maybe. And then we set this up, and kind of the format is, and Cindy's going to go over the format a lot more with the clinics and stuff, but we started slow, but it built up, and we had clinics, which were on the water instruction from certified instructors. We had workshops, which were basically talks. They were free. We had an evening dinner that started out Saturday night. That we had the first one, I think, was Blair Pittman, who was a famous photographer, had been in National Geographic and everything, and he had a great presentation on Big Bend. I mean, and back in the day before PowerPoint, it was a multimedia thing. He had sound and everything coordinated with his slides, and it was outstanding. But at any rate, we also, the other thing that we wanted to do was to make sure that we got the other paddling clubs in Texas involved in this. And so we, publicized it everywhere with every club. We invited the presidents of all the clubs in Texas, and there were a few of them. We invited them personally to come, and we bought them dinner, that night, so they were all there. And like Ann said, these were volunteers. I think that the amazing thing is, we were up there at Chain of Lakes. We're kind of waiting around, and I saw Mike Dalton, Mary Lou Wilson came in, and it's like, whoa, this is actually happening. Then Mad River brought in they used to tour the country with a big trailer just full of boats, and they come into this place with all these boats. And anyway, you saw the pictures. That's Mike and Mary Lou. We're seeing freestyle in this part of the country for the first time.
That's them too.
That's them also in Canoe Sport Journal. And, we put this on. It's Harry Roberts, who was the editor of Canoe Sport Journal. And all these people came the first year, came the second year. We kind of outgrew Chain of Lakes, I think, and moved it to, we had an ad in the magazine. Anyway, after the second year, we moved it to Huntsville State Park, where it stayed for the next about 9 years, and then we moved it closer to town into Sugar Land for the last year, 2001.
You visiting with Mary Lou?
Yeah, that's but at any rate, that's kind of how it started. I think that what Ann alluded to, and I just want to emphasize, is that for those 12 years, Houston and Texas was really the shining light of the canoeing world in North America. I mean, it was the largest on-water canoe and kayak show. We had there now. Somebody over here has a Tom McKenzie boat. I have one too. That's Tom. What model do you have?
Ours is the PAL.
PAL. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a Mistral.
I know Tom pretty well.
Yeah, we do too. He's kind of hurting right now, but. Yeah. But at any rate, this was, the biggest, largest canoe and kayak show in the country. We were able to do some things that Lewis is going to talk about besides improving the paddling knowledge of this entire region. I mean, people learned to paddle well. They learned about equipment. They learned about techniques and safety. And I think, a lot of that continues to this day. I looked around here and I saw how many people were wearing Rendezvous t-shirts and how many people had been to Rendezvous. Quite a few of you have, even though it's been quite a while since we had it. So anyway, that's my part.
Clap, 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 clap.
Okay, so now we're stuck and we've got to put on this thing, and so we've got to get instructors and we've got to put clinics together. So Bob mostly did a lot of the phone calling. We got the most well-known instructors that we had around at that time, people from all over the country. We had, and I'm just going to name just a few here off this list, Doc Forgy you already saw from Indiana, Mike Galt from Florida, Cliff Jacobson, professional guide, environmental teacher from Minnesota. Bunny Johns, she was the vice president of river instructor at NOC. Let's see, Tom McKenzie, we already mentioned, was from Wisconsin. Joel Pulliam, Tennessee, with Dagger Canoes. Harry Roberts from from Michigan. Steve Scarborough, three-time national whitewater champion from South Carolina, and his wife was with him as well. Charlie Wilson, which we mentioned, from Illinois. So we had all these instructors that we had been reading about, and here they were here at our little show. And we were just very excited. And our clinics that year were pretty basic. Intro to canoeing, kayaking. Just had about 12 clinics that year, but we were just so excited and just so proud of what we were doing. The day of the event, we had a handout that had all the workshops that we were able to come up with prior to the day of the show. The next year, again at Chain of Lakes, similar format. We had some additional instructors, which I'll go over again, but pretty much similar format, similar size program. A couple of years later, we're now at 1992, and we're adding a little bit more to our program, a little bit more to our event. In 91, the year prior to this, it was the year that we moved to Huntsville. Two things happened as far as clinics. One was that we introduced something called our Friday clinics. The event up to this point was just Saturday and Sunday. So now we opened it up to Friday, and Friday was all-day instruction. And it was just, you just immersed yourself in whatever discipline you chose, and whatever instructor. We had all these great instructors, and they just spent the whole day with you all day Friday, and it was just a wonderful, very popular event. So that was added in 91, and then we also had, since we had all these instructors and clinics, then we had something that the Canoe Club and other clubs would volunteer for, and that was our Shepherd program. And the Shepherds were sort of like the assistants to the instructors. They would show up at the clinic, take the roster to them, take attendance, handle any problems, get them water, find gear for them if they needed. But the key to being a shepherd, which was really kind of nice, was that you also got to stay and take the clinic. So not only you were volunteering and helping the club, but you also got that little bit of a payback by helping, by taking part in the clinic. Moving on to 93, we are now tripling in our size of our program, and we are just, at this point, we're now at 50 clinics. And we have 16 workshops. And in addition to, with the sheer number of clinics, we're still doing intro to paddling, intro to kayaking, but now we're getting really specific. Now we're getting into some really specific clinics, such as just 2 hours on races, 2 hours on going straight, 2 hours on turning your canoe. So we had, by demand, because people that have been attending this program, this event for so many years, they're all getting so good, and so in order to keep everyone interested and involved, we still kept the intro stuff, but we were adding more and more specific, detailed clinics. And this is 1994, and you can see we're actually adding even more, and it's now becoming quite a little book, but still very impressive. 50 clinics, and this is in 1994. 1995, the special thing that happened that year was we're still growing. We have now added Monday clinics, so now we're bookending the other end of the weekend. And our Monday clinics were really special. They were, you could sign up for an instructor of your choice. Most of the instructors agreed to do this for a 1 hour, one-on-one instruction with the instructor of your choice. It was just amazing. It was like you died and went to heaven. You were sitting there with Bob Foote and taking all these specific instructions just for you and your paddling. Also by 1995, we're having to add more sea kayaking classes. Sea kayaking, when we first started this, wasn't as popular as it became. We really started to bring in some more sea kayak instructors. We had more clinics on navigation, kayak rolling. Most of our newer clinics then had to do with sea kayaking. Moving then to, this is 1997, we are now at 74 clinics.
Wow.
74 clinics, and that's not counting Friday or Monday, that's just over Saturday and Sunday. One thing that we had to do, didn't have to do, but one thing we did was we had all these people taking all these classes and getting so good, and those people were becoming instructors themselves. And so we were able to add a lot of local instructors to our instructor roster. We had over 25 certified canoe kayak instructors just in Houston. Then that stretched out throughout Texas and also Louisiana due to people attending the rendezvous and getting interested in their particular discipline. So by 1997, we needed to have instructor updates, so that was something else that we offered in 1997. A really special clinic that was actually Lillian's idea. It was called Rendezvous 2, and it was a Saturday clinic just for children. You had to be up to the age of 12. It was an all-day clinic where they had arts and crafts, nature, science, and then they had canoe instruction. Becky Contois taught canoe instruction, and she was an elementary school teacher who actually taught canoeing. And Marge Klein taught the kayak for children. All the gear supplied, everything provided for the children. What a wonderful thing. You have your kids, you send them off to this clinic for all day Saturday. They're taken care of, they're learning things, they're having fun, and then you get to go off and do your clinics and have your fun and have your day as well. It's just a wonderful program, and we continued that every year since. The next year, we had a kind of a special, not a surprise, but a kind of a late entry into our program, and that was the appearance of a man by the name of Maligiak Padilla. Maligiak was the Greenland-style kayak champion at that time, and has since had other gold medals as well. I believe at this time, I looked him up because I hadn't really thought about him for a while, he has over 300 kayaks distributed throughout museums, including some in the Smithsonian. But this was a young man who brought John Heath, who was one of the preeminent sea kayak historians, Greenland-style historians, brought Maligiak to Houston. Maligiak had a Greenland-style kayak. Unfortunately, it got a little damaged in the
I'm going to have pictures of him later.
Okay, cool. So his kayak got a little damaged, but he was able to get another kayak, and he did the Greenland-style rolling and did tremendous demonstrations, showed us his equipment, his paddle, told us all about the measuring and doing all this with the Greenland-style kayaks. And he also did something called rope gymnastics, which was just a balance routine that was just impressive, and I hope that you have some pictures of that as well. Moving to 1999, we are now at 83 clinics. We're also, in our program, we're also starting to add a little advertising. We're really hitting the big time here, but this has actually now become a booklet. One of the clinics that has been ongoing for a couple of years that was another way to help bring in some of the other clubs. We had something called, it was a clinic, it was for free, it was called For the Never Ever Paddler. And this was sponsored by the Bayou City Whitewater Club, the Austin Paddling Club, and the Dallas Downriver Club. And they would have the clinics throughout the weekend, absolutely free. They provide all the gear. They had certified instructors. And so even for people who just showed up at Huntsville that day, not even knowing what was going on, said, hey, what's going on? We said, hey, we'll tell them what's going on. We have a clinic for you. So that was also something that was very popular, but it was also a great way to bring in some of the other clubs. In 1999, we had another edition special clinic. Again, this was a brainchild of Lillian. It was called Rendezvous Plus, and this happened on Friday. This was an all-day clinic, and it was geared to the other end of the spectrum. This was geared for the older people, the seniors, and this was taught by Bob Flick. And it was talking about help with balance and how to be comfortable in the canoe and flexibility, and that was, again, was an all-day clinic for seniors. Moving on to 2000, we have, at this point, 50 instructors, about 90 clinics at this time, and again, we have quite the booklet here of clinics, also tips and things on what clinics to take. We really got sophisticated in our program. By the year 2001, which was our last year to have the rendezvous, we had moved to Sugar Land. And so at that time, and I don't have the program, and I saw, John, you had a little pamphlet there. I'm not sure if you have 2001. But I was able to find out we have 104 clinics and 24 workshops. And I'm assuming we had over 50 instructors. Oh, you got the sheet. Okay. So just to help give you an idea about some of the instructors. I mentioned a few the first year, and a lot of those people came every year. I'm just going to name off a few, but what I'm not mentioning are the number of Houston Canoe Club instructors that we have. I know John Tots and Lynn Andrews, Mark's sister, and we had lots of John and I taught. We had lots of certified Houston people that were actually out teaching and being part of this whole program. But here are some of the big names that we had. We had lots of authors. One author we had was Beth Johnson. A lot of whitewater experts, Bob Foote I mentioned, Gordon Black, Marge Klein, Tom Foster, Andy Cora, Kent Ford. Those were just some of the ones I mentioned. And if you've done any reading whatsoever about any whitewater canoeing, or I know they've got video or CDs, maybe not videotapes, but they've got programs and so forth. I know all of them do. In sea kayaking, I had mentioned John Heath, Randy Carlson, Steph Dutton. These are all known sea kayak instructors. Freestyle, we had Lou Galeros, Becky Contoy, Mark Molina. Racing, Max Wellhouse, Bob Spain. We even had polling. Polling was introduced early on, and so we had polling class. But it was just one of the, everyone's mentioned what a bright spot this was for Houston and for the Houston Canoe Club. It certainly was. And as a participant in the rendezvous, you had so many options. You could take your discipline and just expand it and go crazy. I mean, we had one clinic called Zen Canoeing, and so we had to go in and think about canoeing. We had a workshop, Know Your Paddling Personality. So, I mean, we just really got broad and really spread out on a lot of our disciplines. You could try different boats. All the manufacturers are there, so you could try different clinics. You could try polling if you wanted to do. There was all these different options of things that you could do to either just spread yourself out or just get really good at what you've done. I think it just, as Ann said, I think it was very unique, the size and the quality that the rendezvous became. It was unique at the time, and I don't believe it's been repeated since. So, yes, sir.
Don't forget the workshops.
Okay, well, we also had workshops as well. They were half an hour, and they were on land. We had topics such as Dutch oven cooking, camping tips. We had Skip Johnson built a, what do you do, a stripper, a wood strip canoe over the weekend. We had how to choose, select a boat. I know you guys did that one on selecting a canoe, selecting paddles. Mary, I know you did some workshops, I can't remember offhand some of the ones, but yes, so navigation, we had several on that. We had, and these were all free on-land clinics that, again, very well-known people, and people that were well-known in that particular discipline that presented. Anything from the old guys that you could add?
Yeah, another workshop is going teaching canoe repair.
Yes, canoe repair,
And
that's
of
right.
course, he taught the thing about historic vessels named kayaks.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I want to shut this one down.